that was super helpful last time. So it was,
Oh yeah, Alex's hand.
so then when I put it up on YouTube. So let's go ahead and get this started. So if you guys have any questions, just go ahead, put it in the comments. We're going to get to that at the end. And then this is also going to be put up on to YouTube. So if you're tuning in now, but you can't stay the whole time, or we start to ramble like last time, it's going to be put up onto YouTube so you can go back and watch it later. All right. So today we're going to talk about 7 different, basically health tips, but 7 different tips if you work a desk job. So whether you're working from home, kind of like my brother and I are now, or my brother's audience where they're a bunch of traders, so they're at home all the time, or you work a corporate job or anywhere in between, this is going to be super helpful. Or you just sit a lot. If you watch a lot of TV, you're going to be seeing a lot. It's going to be super helpful for you. All right. So Benj, any place you kind of want to start at?
So I mean, we'll kind of start from with you and I of, you know, again, those tuning in that don't know my brother and I, we both came from being strength and conditioning coaches, and we were on our feet and very active all the time. Last year is when I left that and I started with a desk job, and it was, I never realized like the changes that I would have with myself going from, you know, you never realize how active you are doing that type of work to now I'm almost like a sedentary individual, and I've never considered myself that, because even though I created a standing desk for myself, I just don't move that much, and it's little aches and pains that I used to have. I'm sorry, that I used to not have, I now have. So it's like, you know, certain things get stiff now, and I'm not as flexible as I was anymore, and even like my wrists and my fingers will start to hurt because I'm at my desk, and it's like you're like that the whole time. Whereas at work, you're moving all the time. So even if it's not stretching and stuff, you're squatting and doing push-ups and demoing exercises and stuff like that. And I was telling my brother, you know, earlier this morning, I was like, yeah, you're going to start to get some of that stuff too, and realize it. So it's very important, whether you're an active person and you work out or not, that you do some of these things daily that we're going to talk about, because you think you're a healthy person when you do a healthy lifestyle, but all of a sudden when you go from being super active to now you're at your desk, everything changes. And that's kind of what we're going to get into today. Some real quick tips of how you can start applying some of these things immediately.
Yeah, so a little background, like a lot of you watching are going to, maybe you have some experience with gyms, but you don't know a lot of like the back end stuff of like a fitness career. So if like a lot of personal trainers, they're going to be on their feet for like, you know, anywhere from 6 to 10 hours per day, and you're moving. So like for me, I've never really had to do mobility work, but now that like I'm literally sitting here, and I've been sitting since, you know, like 10 this morning, like that was like unheard of. So we were on our feet all the time, didn't have to do mobility work because we're doing squats, we're doing demoing stuff all day long, and then you go and sit, and all of a sudden things start to tighten up. So it's really important that you kind of start off with mobility, in my opinion, because having like a daily mobility routine, whether it's a part of your workout or something you wake up and do or something you do before bed, is going to keep those aches and pains away.
Yeah, and just as you're talking about that, from being at my upper back is super stiff right now, and I know a little bit of it is that kind of, it's that FOMO, you know, it's that, even though it's like it's a good stress, it's kind of stress, and so it tightens everything up. But just from being at my desk is all like through my mid upper back, it's stiff. And just doing that on my shoulder, it's like, ugh, that didn't feel too good, because everything's stiff. So yeah, let's jump into some of the mobility stuff you were talking about that people can start doing either first thing in the morning or before they go to bed, or while they're at their desk, some things that they can do.
Yeah. So there's kind of like three, in my opinion, there would be three things.
Okay.
So you could do a whole yoga routine, but who the fuck has time for that?
Nobody.
Like nobody. Like if you had like 2 minutes, you could hit all these three things. There would be what's called T-spine. So it's like your upper back mobility, your hips, because they're going to tighten up when you're sitting, and then stretching out your pecs because we're like this all day. Whether you're on your phone texting, you're on your laptop, you're like this.
Yeah. Even typing at your keyboard,
yep.
Everything comes forward.
Even if you have perfect posture, you're still forward with that, and those pecs are going to tighten up.
Yeah.
So those would be the three big areas. Now, they don't have to be anything crazy. Like T-spine, you can almost do sitting in your desk. And this is a little too close, but you can almost do, T-spine rotations if you don't have a big like backrest, but just standing. You can, simple. Ooh.
You want me to demo it? Because I
yeah,
can...
but here, you can see me from here. So just like standing and then just opening up, try and keep those hips facing forward. That's just a simple thing you can do, and it takes you 30 seconds.
So
like you could do more.
Would you hold that, or would you do it?
You would do reps. You would reach behind you and try to keep your hips facing forward, and you might do 5 to 10 on each side.
So let me see if I can demo, because I've got a little more space that people.
Yeah, you got more room than I do.
Let's set my phone up a little bit better. So yeah, so for the T-spine mobility, what my brother's talking about is our hips are going to stay forward. Let me close the door. Hips are going to stay forward, but then what you're saying is we're taking the arms and we're letting our eyes.
Basically, yeah, you're rotating like that through the upper back.
And our neck follow.
Hips or low back.
But
now
the key is keeping all this forward, right?
Yep. So there's tons of other ones. Like you can get on the ground, you can do open books, you can do those T-spine rotation things with your hand behind your ear, all on the ground. But again, like if you're at an office, or not everyone wants to get up and down off the ground, and some people can't. If you're really overweight, sometimes that's just challenging to do. So you can do that standing.
Yeah.
So that would be like the first one. You can do that a few times a day, but working that T-spine mobility is really important, especially. So the thing I really noticed a lot is now that we have backup cameras, people have gotten worse. So it used to be people used to have like good T-spine rotation on like one side. The side you would like look back to drive backwards.
Yeah.
Now with backup cameras, everyone's got really, really have gotten worse because you don't have to look behind you to back up. You should, but nobody does.
Yeah, you're not rotating anymore.
Yeah.
And to go with that, what I've noticed, and this was always something I would notice with some clients, is you tell them to do something, and instead of them moving their head or even just their eyes, their whole body would move. Like you tell them to look there, they move their whole body, and so everything is literally just staying in this forward position. You tell them no, just your neck, and it's like I can only move my neck that far.
You're like a Tin Man.
Yeah, you should be able to have eyes, neck, then your torso, then your. It's like everything should follow from that, and we've gotten to the point to where, like you said, it's that Tin Man. Now we're literally moving our whole body versus being able to get that full rotation.
And why that's important is, one, it just makes you feel better. So you're going to get rid of lots of aches and pains. But two, injury prevention. So if you had to go into a position, say you fell and rotated, if you're super stiff, you're more likely to get hurt, or even just working out. But if you have that mobility, you're less likely to get hurt. So you go from being more like Gumby if you're flexible. If you drop Gumby, he's not going to break. If you drop a Lego guy, he's going to break. So you don't want to be a Lego guy.
Yeah. Okay, so that was the T-spine and kind of shoulders. So let's go into the hip mobility for next, because people that sit a lot, oftentimes they'll have back pain, and usually it's revolving around the hips. tightening up. Am I correct?
Most of the time it's dealing with the hips. So if your hips are tight, everything else is going to be tight. So the hips connect your legs to your upper body. So if they're tight, it's going to be a major issue. You're going to have pain. Like you said, if you have back pain, if you loosen up your hips, a lot of times it starts to go away.
So what would be something that a person would be able to do either first thing in the morning or at their desk at their job?
So if you're just standing, and forgive the cat tree in the back. So you can just do, actually, we're going to use, can you see me? Now you can see me.
Yeah.
So my leg here, I'm going to lift it up in front and then out as best I can while keeping my hips facing forward. This is called open the gate.
Okay.
So that's an easy one to do while standing. Now it might not be easy. You might be stiff and not be able to get your hips up high enough. But that's one you can do standing. You don't have to get down on the ground because most of your hip mobility stuff is on the ground. The other one is just holding a squat. So I'm going to probably disappear. You might see my head. But just holding a deep squat and pushing your knees out with your elbows if you can get that low. And just doing a couple of those so you're kind of stretching out your groin and everything.
So
that's a good one.
So let me, since I have the space, let me demo those so everyone can see a little bit better. And with what are you talking about, the fire hydrant one?
Yeah.
We're opening up. Some people aren't going to have that type of balance. You should work up to that balance over time, but you can hold on to a wall. It's okay. And again, like you were saying, you might not have that flexibility and mobility. So sometimes guiding with your hands can help give you a little bit more. And you want to do it on both sides. And then the other, I'm going to move the bone lower for our squat, is you're going into that squat, coming all the way down. And then what he was talking about, pushing the elbows out to open the hips up. That's going to give you a nice stretch through the hips, through the upper back, the lower back, and everything, and then coming back up out of it.
Yep. So again, it would be like 5 to 10 of those, and you can hold that body squat for time. Like you can do like a 10-second hold if you want.
Yeah.
Now, if you don't have great squat mobility, it's going to feel like you're doing a wall squat, so you might not want to hold for a long time. But if you do have good mobility, it's not difficult to hold that position for a long time. So those would be.
And with all those, go through the range of motion that you're comfortable with to start. Everyone starts from a different starting point. And so if you can't get into a deep squat like I just did, do quarter squats and just try and push your hips out. Then once you get good at those, do half squats. And then over time, you're just going to improve.
Mm-hmm. And then, so that's, again, there's a ton of hip mobility stuff. If you just YouTube like hip mobility, you can do Spider-Man lunges, you can do 90-90s, stuff like that. Like you can YouTube all of it, but those are just two you can do from standing. That like, if you're at a corporate office and you can stand up for 3 minutes in the break room, you can do that real quick. You don't have to get down on the ground and everyone's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, like I'm at my standing desk and I can do those fire hydrant hip circles right here. And then boom, I'm not stopping whatever I'm doing. I can just do that and continue on.
Yep. And then the last thing is stretching the pecs. So when your pecs get tight, you start to do this and you start to get that hunchback posture. So the easiest thing is just like the doorway stretch. So it's literally like find something. You can do one or both arms, elbow just parallel or just above your shoulder. Lean into it, and you want to feel that in your pec. So here, not in the shoulder. And you can do a straight arms on a wall as well.
Straight arm, feeling it through there, or bend.
Yep. And again, doorway, you literally just put both up and you lean into it. Just again, make sure you're not feeling the shoulders, you're just feeling the pecs there, your chest. Otherwise, it can damage your shoulders if you do it incorrectly. So if you're feeling the stretch here, stop, adjust the position. You might need to go up a little bit higher. You don't want to go low like this. That's not the stretch. When in doubt, just go a little bit higher with it and you'll feel that stretch in your chest.
Yeah, just like the squat, you know, everyone's a little different. So yeah, maybe I feel my stretch here, but you might feel a stretch up there. So you got to play around with it and find where you
Yep.
feel that stretch coming through here, like you
Yep.
said.
There's not one right. No, there's a wrong way to do it, and that's stretching the shoulders. But there's not like necessarily it has to be at a exactly 45-degree angle. Lean in 20. No, you don't have to do that. Just find where it works for you.
Yeah, because
And
everyone's built different. What was that?
As you get more flexible, that might change. You might have to start way up here,
Yeah.
and as you get more flexible, it might change to where you have to bring your arm lower, or vice versa. All right. So that, you know, there's tons of mobility stuff, guys. Those are just 3 things you can do super quick. If you have more time, you want to spend 10, 15 minutes doing mobility, great. But if you have like 1-2 minutes, you can knock those 3 things out pretty quick. Even if you just skip the pec stretch, you just do T-spine and the hip mobility, 60 seconds, you can knock out both of those quick. Okay.
One thing I've learned from is it's better to do more frequency, like just picking 1 or 2 and doing them more often throughout the day versus just doing it all at once in the morning and then you're sedentary the rest of the day. Because if you're doing maybe just 1, it's like every hour you do 1 exercise, it starts to teach your body to loosen up and stay loose throughout the day versus, again, you just do it literally 1 time during the day and you do this big session of mobility work and then the rest of the 24 hours you're sedentary.
Yep. And this is going to transition into the next one, but if you can't do anything or you have severe back pain that limits you from doing any of the rotation or any other thing, good mobility for your low back is just going for walks.
Yeah.
Which kind of leads us into the next one, which is setting a timer for your breaks. And I need to get better at this, but you should set a timer for every hour, every 2 hours or so, just like 5 minutes, just to take a break. It kind of resets your mind, move around, stretch, get some water, use the bathroom, et cetera, et cetera. And that's super important just to kind of like get you in the right mind of things, because it also takes you away from like, I just need to do one more thing. Just one more. There's always going to be one more thing you can be doing.
Yeah, and it's funny you saying that, you know, at the start of this live, I told you how much FOMO I had from the trades and like, you know, I was like real anxious and I'm already starting like kind of calm down or like, because I'm not thinking about it. Obviously I am now, but I wasn't thinking about it. And so that was my mental break of all morning, you know, since, you know, 6 when I woke up, you know, the past, 7 hours I've been thinking trading and you know, that just kind of building, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, I feel better. I'm not thinking about that anymore. And that's my little mental break. And obviously, like you said, moving around is kind of your mental and physical break too.
Yeah, and it's good. So I did not set a timer last night. I was working on our new client welcome packet. I started about 6 o'clock. I was like, oh, I'll go work out in an hour. Well, an hour came and went. Oh, next hour. Well, I stopped working on it at 9:30. So I started at 6. I was like, well, shit. Okay. Well, I'm not getting anything done. So it's important to set those timers because it also sets a limit, because I only budgeted like 90 minutes to do that. I did double the time. So it also helps you, like, I should have been working out. I should have been doing other stuff with that time, not just that one thing, because I was just also getting less and less productive. So that also helps you like, hey, this project should have only taken an hour. Now I'm just kind of fiddle farting around with it. I'm being too nitpicky. Like it helps you get a right frame of mind.
Yeah. So anyone that's listening, my challenge to you right now is go onto your phone and set your break timers. And just to give you an example, one of the guys I trade with, we actually have alarms on our phone to go off at certain times. It's for certain setups, but then also I set my Roomba that vacuums the house to go off at 10:30, and that means get your ass away from the desk, you're done. And so typically, if I hear that and I'm still at the desk, it's all of a sudden like it snaps me out of it, and it's like, oh, it's already time. I gotta leave.
Yep.
I'm usually done trading by then, but it's that break of I don't realize I'm not paying attention to the time, and I don't need to be at my desk anymore. I'm just at my desk because I'm like, I'm at my desk, so I'm staying at my desk. But then that alarm goes off and it snaps you out of it, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, I'll go make some breakfast and I'll carry on with my day. In your instance, it was you needed to have that break alarm for your workout. You're working away, and then it snaps you out of it. Oh, it's time to work out.
Yeah.
You realize 2 hours just went by.
Yeah.
So
Close down.
yeah, if you're listening, I challenge you, set your break alarms. You know, whatever your schedule is for the day, set some breaks throughout the day, and that's just going to make you feel better. Get up, do something, get some water, whatever it might be.
And it doesn't, like, you can set specific intervals. You could do every hour, every 90 minutes, every 2 hours, every 45 minutes. Like, find what works for you or what works for the day. Every day might be different. Like, you might have a project where you need, like, deep work. You need a 2.5 hour block for that. Well, don't take a break after that, but before that block of work, take a break. And after that block of work, take a break.
Yeah.
And you might have other things like, I have to do email for an hour, take a break, and then I have to go and do X, Y, and Z for an hour, take a break.
Yeah.
And it's short little breaks. So 5 minutes. You can set a timer for the break too. Like, you can set, like, so you're not just scrolling on the gram for 5 minutes. Like, oh, it's been 15 minutes. Crap. It's set a timer for the break if you need, and 5 minutes are up. All right, back to work.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's a good one. And that's going to lead us into my now empty water bottle. Setting the break so you pay attention to water.
Yeah.
Because this is a big, people don't hydrate, especially like, I'm in my basement working. It's like 63 degrees in the basement. It's actually freezing cold.
Mm-hmm.
But I go outside and the heat index in swampy Pennsylvania is 100 degrees today. So if I don't drink and I go and take the dog for a walk this afternoon, I'm going to be dehydrated in the heat.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure you have a couple water bottles or at least one large one. So this is a 32-ounce water bottle. I try to get at least 100 ounces in a day. So I need to drink 3 of these. So you can use an alarm to kind of remind you like, oh, crap, I need to finish this, or I need to go fill my water up, because you'll finish it and be like, okay, I'll go fill it up after blah, blah, blah. And then it's 2 hours later and you still haven't drank any water.
Yeah. So tying in literally what we just talked about with the breaks. And this was actually something Dad had taught us. This was, I mean, probably 10 years ago when they still owned the store. He said on his phone at the time, he didn't have his Apple Watch or anything. It was every hour. And it was just every hour you drank a glass of water. It was as simple as that, but it was just from the time he woke up from 6 to the time he went to bed at 10, it was that little alarm went off, ding, 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 drink a glass of water. Yep. And I mean, how many hours is that? Got what, 16 hours.
Yeah. So if
16
you're
8-ounce glasses, you know, that's you're over that gallon amount, and you're not even thinking about it. Everyone can drink a glass of water each hour. That's, I mean, I just slam it down.
Yeah.
So
I mean, if you do just 10 ounces, that's 160 ounces. Like, just simple math. It's like 1.5 gallons for a day.
Yeah, and if you're a female and you're not as active, you know, maybe it's a half a glass of water, or it's a glass every 2 hours. Not that I would go 2 hours without having something to drink, but you know, you can adjust it based off your body weight. You know, I know you weigh around 200, a little over, a little under. I'm a little under that. So yeah, we probably need about that much. But someone that's smaller, they don't need quite that much. So maybe half a glass of water every hour.
Now, as a reference for a lot of you who don't drink a lot of water and you know you should, but you just don't know how much, I set a goal for starting out. It's just half your body weight in ounces of water. So again, as a 200-pound person, that's 100 ounces in a day. So I have a goal of about 3 of these. If you're a 130-pound female, that's going to be 70.
Yes.
So
70.
So again, you don't need to be as aggressive. 70 would be, a little over 2 of these in a day. So that's just like to give you guys reference. Like, I need to drink water, but I don't know how to get it done. Like, set some alarms. I know some bodybuilders also they actually like put the times instead of like an alarm. They put like, they have like the big ones and they put like 12 o'clock is here, 1 o'clock I need to be here. You can do that method. I'm blanking on the other method I was going to say, but
so I was
tons.
going to bring it up. The other method is kind of like time frames.
Yes.
We'll use your example since you need to drink 3 of those. One of them needs to be completed in the morning. He needs to drink one of them by the end of the morning. And then one of them needs to be finished by the time dinner time comes around, from the lunch to dinner. And then the last one, he has to finish it from dinner till by the time he goes to bed. Now, this only works if you're drinking it through the morning. You're not just slamming it all 30 ounces like at 11:59 and then 5:59 and then 9:59, the last minute of each time frame. But every person is going to find what works best for them. Some people are going to like that every hour. Some people are going to like, oh, I just have to drink 3 of these, or they've got it on their bottle, or it's those time frames of morning, afternoon, evening time.
Yeah. And the time frame one works well if you guys like to drink at night, but you want to cut back on alcohol, because if you do like, say 5 o'clock on, you need to drink an entire one of these before you can have any wine, beer, or whiskey. You have to drink all of this first. One, it kind of helps hydrate you. It keeps you from being dehydrated after drinking alcohol, but it also limits how much you can drink, because after drinking all of this, you're like, do I want 3? I'm good with 1 glass.
Yeah, and simply because you brought that topic up, this is kind of getting off of what we were talking about, but it goes with hydrating. One of the best things I ever did when it was, with alcohol consumption, if I was drinking more, let's say you're at a party, essentially either after or before every alcoholic beverage you have to drink a glass of water.
Yeah, that's a good one.
If you're having 3 beers throughout the course of the night, you would have had to have had, before you drank your first beer, a glass of water. And then once you finish your beer, if you want another one, you have a glass of water. And this goes for cocktails or wine too. What that's going to do is, like you said, it's going to keep you hydrated. You're less likely to have a massive hangover the next day. But it's also actually going to limit the amount of alcohol you consume as well, because you're filling your stomach up with water instead. So maybe normally you can pound down a 6-pack, no problem. You have half of that in water. Now you cut back on half there. That's kind of getting off on a different topic, but
we're gonna jump back. We're gonna jump back on in a second here, back so we don't ramble too much, since we're over half an hour. But just one more thing with that is, a lot of times when we're drinking, it's social. So we just want to have something. We just want to be here, and every couple minutes be doing this.
Yeah.
It's more social, and there's something called mirror neurons. So what happens is, if you're looking at me and I'm doing this, you're also going to want to do that. Yes. So if someone's in front of you drinking and doing this, guess what you want to do? You want to copy them and mimic. So if that's water instead of beer, now you're cutting back. So it helps just cut back on alcohol. But let's
Well,
enough
yeah,
of that.
we'll get back to
That'll be another day.
so
Let's talk about real quick, if you're sick of water.
yeah, which was what I was going to lead into. So some people just don't like the taste of plain water. Usually I'd say, look, just drink your water. But some people hate it. They can't stand it. That's why there's products like Mio and all of that. I don't really recommend those, but it's better than no water at all.
Yep.
Going with that, there are healthier options. First, you see me, I've got, my bubbly or Bublé, like Michael Bublé, however you want to call it. It doesn't matter which sparkling water you get. If you like sparkling water, have some sparkling waters. You can get the bigger ones, and that's going to be like your 30 ounce that you're talking about, or have a couple of these always on hand. Like when I go out, I throw like 3 in my backpack whenever I'm going anywhere, because usually by the time I get there, I've drank one. Wherever I'm at, I'm drinking one. And on my drive home, I want to drink one. And all of a sudden, I drank 36 ounces of water simply because I was thirsty. Another one is, okay, maybe you don't like plain water, but you like some lemon or lime or orange or grapefruit in it. Do some of that. If you like it a little sweeter, you can put some stevia. And then a tip that you actually just talked about last week, I want you to, we'll talk about it for hot and cold days, how to stay hydrated. I'll let you do that one.
With the tea?
Yeah.
So yeah, another one you can do, guys, you can't do a black tea. So basically anytime I consider like water, it's uncaffeinated, except maybe like a few things of green tea, but you can use herbal tea to help hydrate you. So when it's cold out, in the winter where the last thing you want is an ice cold glass of water, you can use herbal tea. And a lot of times I did that, especially at my last job, I would do that a ton because we didn't really have heat. So it'd be like 50 degrees in the gym and freezing or low. There were a few days where it was down in the 40s. So you can do that. Or in the summer, like right now, it's like the heat index is like 100 outside. Just do iced tea. And you can make a big container of it. And you can kind of make it just like cold brew coffee. So you just put in, like say the night before, you just put in the tea bags or loose leaf tea into whatever you want, let it sit overnight, and then in the morning you have herbal tea.
Yeah, and pick the tea flavor that you like. Back when you and I had to do our bodybuilding prep, and it was that last week where you had to drink so much water, I would make my favorite tea, and it made it so easy to get in lots of liquid because I actually enjoyed that beverage. And it was whenever I'd have like a little bit of, a craving for something sweet too, it's like, oh, I'll go have some tea. I need to drink my liquid anyways. And then that kind of would cure the little sweet tooth as well. And so I would go through half a gallon to a gallon of tea a day, but it's not adding any calories because I'd go unsweetened or with some stevia as well.
Yep. So my recommendation, if you've never done it and you want to try the Tezo or Tazo Passion, that would be my recommendation. So it's a little tart.
That's my favorite.
Add in a little bit of stevia or monk fruit. Then it makes it sweet. So it's 0 calorie and it's a little sweet, a little tart. And that's where I would start off at for if you're trying out the iced teas. Yep. If you already have some teas you like, go at it. I actually have something. It's right behind me here. For the beer drinkers, these are new. It's a sparkling hop tea. So it's a 0 calorie, basically sparkling water, but they brew with tea. So this is my favorite, which is the Hop Bomb. It's their hoppiest one. So if you're an IPA lover, 0 calories, made with white tea. So it's only like 15 milligrams of caffeine, but it tastes like an IPA.
Nice.
They're really good. Now they have a chamomile one for at nighttime. It's not super hoppy, but for nighttime, if you want something that's not water, you like that hoppy, bitter flavor, they do have that one for at night. So that one's not my favorite. I prefer this one, which, you know, is good with lunch.
Yeah.
If you like a lunch beer, that's a good one.
Awesome. Yeah. So if you like beer, get
If
some
beer,
hot water.
or if beer doesn't agree with you, but you like the taste, like me,
Yeah.
this is good.
Cool.
Cool. All right. So those are a few things there. Other thing real quick, guys, standing desk. So obviously I can stand up here, but I'll go off camera. Benj has a standing desk. So if you are working at a desk all the time, if you can just get up and down a little bit, you know, stand up, it's going to be much better for you. You're going to feel better instead of sitting, having those hips get tight. You're also more likely to actually do the mobility stuff if you're already standing. So you want to make things easy as possible. So if I'm sitting and I'm like, I got to do that mobility thing again. Now I have two steps. I have to get up and then I have to do it. If you have a standing desk, you're already standing and that alarm goes off to do mobility, there's only one thing you need to do, and that's start your mobility.
Yeah, literally just take a step back from the desk and do it. And
yep.
I know a lot of people are going to say, hey, you know, I don't have a standing desk, or you know, they're expensive. I can't afford one.
Yeah.
If you have a normal desk, it doesn't mean you can't make it a standing desk. The only limitation you're going to have is like if you work at a corporate office or you work for a company and they say, hey, you can't. And, you know, that's going to be really your only limitation. If someone you work for is saying, hey, you're not allowed to do that. But I'm going to switch the camera around so you can see. I have a normal desk that I bought these, they're like bed risers off Amazon, maybe 10 to 20 bucks. And these are actually two different heights. So depending on how tall you are, I believe this is a 5-inch riser. And then I put the 3-inch on top. So it gives me another 8 inches of height there. But if you're taller, you know, maybe you need a little more, or if you're shorter, maybe you need just a little less. So, but you can adjust it to make your normal desk standing. And then I just put some books under my my laptop and my monitor to get them to the height that I wanted them at. My mouse is on the desk, but I like to have some different heights for everything for where I'm looking. That way I don't have to look down. My monitor is more in front of me, and I'm not having to change my posture because of that.
Yeah. And they do make, you can buy off of Amazon, they make a thing that goes on top of your desk that picks things up. So if you're like, well, I can't put those things underneath, there's things that you put on your desk that you can then put your computer, laptop, monitor, whatever you have up higher. What I have is I actually have an architect table, and for sitting down, this is actually like a bar height stool.
Okay.
So I'm sitting at bar height versus like lower. So my desk is already built higher. Mm-hmm. So some standing desks are really nice where they have the hydraulics that go up and down depending on what you need. This is just like the desk is standing height.
Cool.
Okay. Let's go on to, so we did the mobility, the brakes, standing desk. Oh, the treadmill. So real quick, guys, if you want to get some extra activity in, if you're working from home and you own a treadmill, or say you're allowed to do this at your job, something you can do if you have some like mindless work that just has to get done, say it's answering emails. We had a professor, he would grade tests like this when we were in college, is just go on a treadmill, put a slight incline and put it at the slowest setting and just do your work from there. So again, if you're at a corporate office and you can't do it, totally get it. But if you have a laptop and you're at home and you already have a treadmill, just treadmill, because chances are right now it's just expensive clothes hanger for you.
Yeah, and then also to go with that, taking meetings or calls on the phone and either pacing back and forth or walking. You know, if you're doing an hour-long call, if you just pace back and forth for an hour, that's 3 miles you walk in that time frame without even realizing it. And that's kind of the power of some of that stuff is you're already doing one thing. Why not do the other?
Yep. And same thing, like if you can answer emails on your phone and you can leave, you can just answer going for a walk. So I know like Vanguard, I have no idea if Vanguard allows this, but I do know they have a walking trail. So
Okay.
if you're able to leave and answer emails via your phone, you could access that. I have no idea if they can or not. I just know that they do have a walking trail for their employees. But like I'll do that. I'll go for a walk and I'll answer like social media DMs and other stuff. I'll just quick walk or even just go outside.
Yeah.
So that's a couple things. If you have a treadmill, utilize it. You already have it. I wouldn't buy a treadmill necessarily for that.
No.
But if you already have it, it's collecting dust in the corner, start using it. Slowest settings, slight incline, and just casually do a walk, and you'll be amazed how many steps you get in an hour or even just 15, 30 minutes.
Yeah.
All right, we got a couple other ones to go over real quick. First one, have a high protein snack ready to go. So if you work in a corporate office, generally all the snacks are shit. They're going to be vending machine snacks, so Hershey bars, chips,
chocolate, crackers, chips, sodas.
So plan on just, even if you don't use it, take a snack with you, just in case you need it. It's there.
I like to call them emergency snacks.
Yeah.
Because they're there for an emergency.
Exactly. Greek yogurt, protein shakes, even like beef jerky. And as long as you're getting enough water in with the beef jerky, otherwise it's a total sodium bomb and you're going to feel like crap. So those would be like 3 examples of like easy things. Protein bars can fit in there if you can find some good ones.
Do you have any you recommend?
The Axe and Sledge homemade bars are really good.
Okay.
So actually made out of real food, but they're more like meal replacement bars. So they are 250 calories. So they're not just like, oh, let's go have this, snack.
Yeah.
And the second one, the third, like you can have one in a day, and then you gotta watch the calories. But they are made of real food.
The one I really like is the On It protein bites.
Yes. Okay.
It's like a half bar.
Okay.
And it's got a lot of the real foods in it as well. I think they're like 120 calories per bite, but they're packed with fiber and protein and like some like whole foods, like fruits and vegetable blend. But they taste like a little chocolate bar. I mean, they're delicious, but they're actually very satiating, and I like them, kind of for that purpose of it's an emergency. I'm not eating those on a day-to-day basis. It's more like if I'm traveling, or if it's like we're talking about an emergency. I know I have a healthy option for a snack that I can grab, and it's going to fit, my goals. I'm getting some fiber and some protein. It's going to be very filling, not crazy in calories. And lastly, it kind of gives you that, hey, I just had a chocolate bar without eating a chocolate bar.
Yep. On that same note, if you work, in a corporate office, having, you kind of have to take your meals, but if you work from home, a thing a lot of people do is they think that they're going to have time to go make a meal. Instead, what happens is, oh, I can just go make a meal. Let me do one more thing. Let me go do one more thing. It goes back to our making our breaks and everything and timing it out. Then all of a sudden you're starving and you're like, I need to eat something now or I'm going to rip this house apart.
Yeah, and today was a perfect example for me. Because I told you I finished trading, and usually I'll eat after trading. So 10:30, 11 is when I'm having my first meal. Well, today I finished trading, and you and I got on the phone. I was talking to you, and then all that stuff with the stocks happened. So I came back to my desk, and then 12 o'clock was rolling around, and I was like, I haven't eaten anything yet. And which is going to get into the next point we're going to make of pretty much, because I'm about to leave next week. I don't have a lot of food prepared. I'm kind of trying to get down through what's in my fridge. And I was like, what am I going to? And so I made a quick smoothie, which is kind of going to be another good option for you of what you're talking about is your meals are already prepared.
Yep.
Or you got smoothie ingredients on hand too.
Smoothie ingredients are, it's a protein powder, or you can use Greek yogurt.
That's what I did.
Yep. You can use both. There's your protein. You throw in some berries or some fruit, but berries are usually the lowest in calorie.
And high in fiber.
Yep. High in fiber, highest in nutrients. And then you can use a greens powder, or you can use just like frozen spinach.
Yeah, I do a couple handfuls of spinach, and you can't taste it, but you're getting in, again, more volume and fiber and vegetables without tasting it.
Yep. And then you want a little bit of fat. So that can, if you're doing whole milk yogurt, there's your fat already, but you can throw in peanut butter, you can throw in walnuts, sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds, anything like that. Just get a little bit of fat in there, guys.
And to go with that, so I actually want to think more of on the women for this. Sometimes adding in some fat, it's like adding in nut butters is too high in calories for them. But you can always go with some flaxseed or chia seed too, because those are a good healthy fat. But a tablespoon of that's going to give you some healthy fats, but also high in fiber as well. So it's just not going to be quite that, 100, 200 calories that you're getting from nut butters and stuff like that.
Yeah. So like, depending on your goals and how many calories you want to get out of the smoothie, you might only want to go with 1 tablespoon of peanut butter if you're going with peanut butter, not 2. But just make sure you also portion it out, because it's really easy to overdo smoothies. You're like, that doesn't look that much. And you make it and it's like, that's an 800 calorie smoothie.
I started weighing everything, because I used to just dump it in, and I think I realized it when Mom and Dad visited back during the holidays, and Dad wasn't able to finish the smoothies that I was drinking. I'd say, hey, you want a smoothie? He's like, yeah, I'll have half of one of yours. And so then I realized, hey, maybe I'm overdoing it. And yeah, I was doing about 2 cups of berries instead of 1 cup.
Yep.
And I wasn't quite doing a ton more of the nut butter, but it was over 2 tablespoons. It was over the serving size. And so then it was like, okay, let me just portion it all out, exactly like you said. And then all of a sudden, it became very easy to drink my smoothies down. It was like, wow, these are a lot less than before.
Yep. And that just, it's, 1, you're hitting calories. 2, it just saves you money.
Yeah.
You're not literally pouring money down the drain when there's like this much of a smoothie left, and it's like 8 hours later, you're like, oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Dump. And then the last point we have here, guys, we need to do better. I thought this was going to be 20 minutes tops, and we're pushing the hour mark here.
Well, again, this is our second time, so we're learning as well.
Last thing, because you're inside, you're not going to get vitamin D from the sun, so you should supplement with vitamin D. Almost everyone's vitamin D levels are low if they get blood work done. Very rarely is anyone actually at like the optimal levels.
Yeah, and a lot of times people think, hey, I get out in the sun, first thing in the morning or, at night. I'm good on vitamin D. Well, I'm going to let you talk about this a little more, Christopher, because the science a little bit better than I do. But it's essentially like the position of the sun in the day determines how your body produces vitamin D. And first thing in the morning and late at night isn't necessarily the optimal time for your body to get the sunlight for the vitamin D. So I'll let you talk about that more, since you've studied that a little bit more than I have.
So if you really want to get nerdy with this, Chris Masterjohn did a podcast on it and an article and goes over it. It's super, super nerdy. So those of you who are interested in like going super into vitamin D, go to his stuff. I'm going to try to summarize it. Basically, we're only going to really produce vitamin D with our bodies during midday sun. So think of like 11 to 3.
So like right now.
Literally right now, when most people are doing like the bulk of their work.
Yeah.
So like 11 to 3 is where you're going to produce most of it. The other times during summer, so like if you look and see the UV index and it's, you know, a 2 or 3, like morning and evening, you might produce a little bit, but the caveat is you need like full body exposure. Like you need to be out with like your shirt off. If you have your shirt on, you'll produce a little bit, but most of the vitamin D production happens around your torso. So if you have your shirt on, you're not going to really produce any.
Yeah.
So it's like 15 minutes if you're like pasty white, but like full body exposure. And then the more tan you are, or if you're African American, Latino, or, you know, any other skin color, it takes longer because there's more melanin. So it takes longer to produce that vitamin D. So I believe anyone from African descent, they need more like an hour.
Okay.
So it takes longer. And then there's a whole bunch of other stuff, like, because if it's overcast, you're going to produce less.
Mm-hmm.
If you're tall buildings, because the way the sun reflects off the buildings and travels down, you're not going to produce as much. There's all these caveats to where it's like, unless you're literally sitting out in the middle of the field, suntanning, you're not really going to produce any. So you need to supplement with vitamin D.
So how would you go about supplementing with it then?
Most people are fine with like 5,000 IU per day, but like the super safe dosage that nobody has an issue with is 2,000.
Okay.
So you would just take 2,000 IU. Morning or night is usually the easiest time to remember, but whenever you take your normal supplements would be best. Most people say ideal is in the morning. I forget a lot of my morning supplements, so I usually take it at night. Basically, I have a better vitamin D supplement I take in the morning, and if I forget, I have like a cheaper backup one at night that's like one of those. And it's cheap, guys. Like vitamin D is so dirt cheap. It costs like 2 cents per pill. So like the thing I got was like $20. It's like 300 pills in it for 5,000 IU.
Yeah, I think mine was like $5 or $8 for 180 pills.
Yeah.
You know, it's so many.
It's so dirt cheap. And if you really want to get into it, a lot of people recommend you take vitamin D with vitamin K, because vitamin K helps get rid of any possible calcium buildup in the blood from vitamin D, which can lead to like theoretically atherosclerosis.
Okay.
So, you know, the arteries getting smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
So some people do recommend you take vitamin D with vitamin K because they work synergistically together.
Now
you can do
the last thing is vitamin D and vitamin K. Do those need to be consumed with food or without food, since they're a fat-soluble vitamin?
So eat them with food if you just get like if you just get like a powderized version. You need to eat it with food, ideally fat. And even like if it's a little fat capsules, you still should eat it with food or after a meal. Like if you eat it like an hour after a meal, there's still food in your stomach. Yeah. So you're still good. But you do want to have it around some sort of mealtime for best absorption. Because like you said, it's fat soluble, so you need some fats. Now they do sell the little vitamin D pills, which are in like an oil cap, which are fine. It's possibly not enough fat to optimize absorption.
Okay.
I know with vitamin A, they found like if you eat carrots, you need to have like 20 grams of fat for like best absorption. So eating just like the little like 1 gram pill, it's like 1 gram of fat in there, might not be enough.
Okay. So yeah, moral of the story is when you take your vitamin D, you know, have it, you know, before or after your meal, and you should be good.
Yeah. Most people have fat. If you take it in the morning, most people have some sort of fat in the morning, whether it's butter, peanut butter, or avocado on toast, eggs.
Yeah, eggs.
Smoothie, you're throwing in some fat in there. Like if you're doing the morning, generally you're okay. At night, if you typically do like super lean meals, like if you're doing white fish and asparagus with rice at night and you're not throwing in any olive oil or anything, you might have an issue with absorption.
Okay.
And that pretty much sums it up. I don't think we actually got any questions.
I didn't see any come through. If anyone is listening and has questions, we'll stay on for another minute. Otherwise, we'll wrap it up there. So, yeah, if anyone's got any questions on what we talked about today or anything in general.
Yeah, anything in general.
Let me see. If I got any. Okay. No.
Does not look like it. All right, cool.
We will catch you guys next week then.
All right, next week. See you guys.
See you.